attractive to the classroom, but that doesn't mean the path to becoming a teacher is easy.
What you believe you're qualified for is going to look totally different than what people who are in education might view as being qualified.
In other words, she says raising your own kids or having work experience involving children isn't enough. You'll need a bachelor's degree, and if it isn't in education, you'll have to pass 3 tests to earn a professional educator certificate and take courses required by the Florida Department of Education. About 25 people came to a recent recruitment event in Tampa to find out how to get on the teacher training track. They scribbled notes, asked a lot of questions, and came from professional backgrounds ranging from information technology to banking. One recruiter told them if they wanted to teach biology or chemistry, she could get them an interview immediately. But another didn't try to sugarcoat the very real challenges of teaching.
It's not an easy job, and you've got a lot going on because you didn't student teach, you don't know our way of work, and work with kids that come to school with bigger problems than we all have.
While teaching is considered a stable career, it's no secret that morale has plummeted. According to the National Education Association, over 40% of new teachers quit within the first 5 years. And as baby boomers begin to retire and more students enter Florida schools, Hillsborough County plans to hire 1,000 new teachers. Neela Kelly of Tampa thinks she might want to be one of them. She graduated from the University of South Florida with a business management degree and just spent a year teaching English in Columbia.
I love a school. I know it sounds really corny and cliche, but I love school.
And if she does decide to pursue education, Vernon White, the new teacher in Brandon, has some advice.
Don't just accept or apply for a job simply because there's a vacancy, because if you don't feel like you can make an impact, if you can't make a connection with these kids, there's truly no point to teaching.
White says it isn't about the paycheck. A new teacher in Hillsborough County makes $38,000 a year, but he gets a different kind of payoff. He says when his students leave at the end of the school day, they know that Mr. White has their back. I'm Kathy Carter in Tampa.
This is WLRN Miami Herald News. I'm Luis Hernandez.
Support for WLRN Miami Herald News provided by the Litowitz Foundation, supporting the highest quality programming to enlighten the public on important issues since 2004.
There were bells on the hill.
On the next Fresh Air, Barbara Cook talks about going from Broadway ingenue to sophisticated cabaret singer. She was in the original Broadway production of The Music Man and in Candide and Carousel. She's written a new memoir and at 88 is still performing. Join us. Today at noon.
In the sky, but I never saw.
Operator, this is Julia Tuttle in Miami. I need you to dial Mr. Flagler, Henry Flagler in West Palm Beach. Yes, ma'am. Hold a moment, please.
Hello again, Julia.
Henry, how are you? How's the weather there?
I'm Julia, but we've been hit with another freeze and destroyed all the crops.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, it's beautiful weather down here, and the fruit is just divine. Come see for yourself.
That's History in the Making on WLRN TV, your South Florida storyteller station. During an election year, news coverage can start to sound the same, and that's where NPR comes in.
I'm Asma Khalid.
Monica Montanaro.
Sam Sanders.
Scott Detroit.
Danielle Kurtzleben.
Carrie to tell stories about the election from all different angles.
I covered demographics of the campaign.
Political editor. Campaign reporter. Covered tech and politics.
Digital political reporter.
Justice correspondent.
We take you on a journey
White House correspondent.
through the issues
And I cover Congress.
and inform you about the world as it changes. Listen every day.
Listen every morning here on 91.3 WLRN.
Support for NPR comes from NPR member stations and from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, working with others to build a culture of health, enabling all in America's diverse society to lead healthier lives, now and for generations to come, on the web at rwjf.org. From the Kresge Foundation, expanding opportunities in America's cities through grant making and social investing. More at kresge.org. And from the listeners who support this NPR station.
Classical music is now available to WLRN listeners. WLRN's HD2 channel now carries WLRN Classical. NPR News and Information remains on 91.3 FM. Learn how to listen to WLRN Classical at WLRN.org/classical.
South Florida, a colonoscopy can cost $600 to $5,000. WLRN wants to know how much you paid. It's part of our Price Check reporting project to bring clarity to healthcare costs. You can share what you paid and find out what others paid at WLRN.org/pricecheck.
The Miami-Dade County Community Spay-Neuter Clinic will be able to perform free spay-neuter services for low-income residents and community cats. Transportation and trapping assistance available. Info at humanesocietymiami.org from the WLRN Community Bulletin Board.
Cloudy skies early, followed by partial clearing this afternoon. Just a 20% chance of afternoon showers now and then. High near 90 today. Winds east at 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Near 90. It's 90 now.
85 degrees now. It's 8:51.
85 degrees.
Financial markets are down, but so far orderly on this second business day after Brexit.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance, working to make progress for more than 75 years.
From Marketplace in New York, I'm David Brancaccio. Here are some of the big shifts in money, with Britain now set to leave the European Union over the next 2 years or more. The British pound is down another 3.6% at under $1.32. London's 100 share index and the DAX in Frankfurt are each down about 2%. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures in the U.S. are down about 0.5%, as if the Dow were down 93 points. The 10-year Treasury yield is very low, 1.47%. In Britain, the finance minister, George Osborne, has stepped out to calm nerves, a shift in tone after some of his more alarming pronouncements he made during the campaign. There's talk from Scotland today about the power of Scots to block Brexit. The Scottish First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, says the Scottish government, part of the UK of course, but with many separate powers, is looking into whether Scotland could thwart this ambition to leave the EU. Marketplace's Stephen Beard is watching this.
There is some legal argument about that, and it's not entirely clear that they will be able to do that. But the lawyers disagree over this. But clearly, Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister in Scotland, sees this as a major opportunity to advance her lifetime's work of independence for Scotland.
And amid all the Brexit-induced market turmoil, don't miss the Chinese currency, the renminbi today, which is being allowed to droop compared to the U.S. dollar. Marketplace's Rob Schmitz is following that for us.
China's central bank allowed the country's currency to depreciate to its weakest level against the U.S. dollar in more than 5 years. The move comes as the U.S. dollar rallied 2.5% against major global currencies on Friday, a result of a surge of investment in safe haven currencies in the aftermath of Britain electing to leave the European Union. Many economists expected China to depreciate its own currency this year in order to help stimulate its own economy by making its exports cheaper abroad. And the UK referendum gave China's central bankers an excellent reason to do so. China's renminbi is now trading at 6.64 to the US dollar, a level we haven't seen since Christmas Eve 2010.
Now to Spain, where that country's acting Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy has won Sunday's general election there, much more decisively than had been predicted, an election day dominated by the Brexit headlines. The BBC's Guy Hedgecoe filed this for us from Madrid.
The Spanish markets responded positively to Sunday's election result, which saw an unexpectedly clear victory for Mr. Rajoy, a conservative. The vote was a repeat of the general election held 6 months ago, which failed to result in a new government being formed. This time round, Mr. Rajoy's Popular Party won back some of the seats it had lost in December, but it didn't do enough to be able to govern on its own. It's still not clear if Mr. Rajoy will be able to continue as Prime Minister. That will depend on negotiations over the coming weeks. But the Spanish blue chip index was buoyed by the result, seeing gains of over 2% on opening. However, as further Brexit-related uncertainty swept over Europe, the Spanish markets started to suffer, with larger banks in particular seeing losses.
Note that the economies of Spain and Britain are especially intertwined. Many Spanish people have jobs in Britain, and for Brits, Spain has become a kind of Florida, with many UK retirees buying property there, a situation that Britain pulling out of the EU could change.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Battelle, supplying U.S. troops with life-saving technology so they can operate in the world's most dangerous environments. Because at Battelle, it can be done. More at battelle.org/troops.
With the reality sinking in of Britain's decision on Friday to leave the biggest common market in the world, one of the big questions is about the future of global trade. The UK will have to renegotiate fresh trade agreements with Brussels, and the Europeans are being cranky about this. This milestone comes as growth in all world trade has tapered off. That's been the theme of our coverage of the new expanded Panama Canal, which opened successfully this weekend. Some call it peak trade, and it might be a downward cycle, or it could be a new normal, as we've explored. Today in that series, a key part of trade that is not slowing down. It's called digital trade. Marketplace's Tracy Samuelson.
So out here you see a bunch of speakers, and then here, which we like to call the toy room.
Adam Wexler walks into a storeroom filled with used and vintage stereo systems.
We have turntables, tube amplifiers, CD players.
Wexler uses eBay to sell these stereos around the world. About a third of his sales are international, lots of them to Asia.
They have a voracious appetite for collectible American hi-fi equipment.
Wexler operates out of an old brick warehouse on the water in a part of Brooklyn with a long history in shipping. There's still a container terminal nearby. But selling on eBay, Wexler ships one sale at a time through FedEx and the postal system. According to eBay, of its sellers in the U.S. with sales more than $10,000 a year, 97% of them export. It's a type of digitally facilitated trade.
Trade is no longer coming only in big boatloads and cargo container ships, but it's coming in individual packages going through the mail service. This is very difficult to track.
Susan Lund is a partner at McKinsey & Company. She says the other piece of this growing segment is trade of digital goods and services, downloading a book or a movie or making a phone call over Skype. It's also hard to measure, but in a recent study, McKinsey found cross-border bandwidth is 45 times larger than it was in 2005. It also says the flow of data and communications across borders is adding more to global GDP than trade in physical goods. You got that? Digital beats goods.
So countries around the world, including in the United States, are rethinking how can we start to keep track of these smaller bits of trade that add up to big numbers.
And big economic benefits.
So you don't have to travel to France for the, X meeting or the World Football Championship. You can watch it online. So that's an example of digital trade.
Susan Ariel Aronson is a research professor at George Washington University.
It's a good thing, right? Because it's encouraging growth in new areas. It's stimulating productivity. But it's also going to be incredibly challenging to traditional industries and for governments to regulate.
Take 3D printing, for example. Download a design file and anyone, anywhere, could be their own manufacturer. No cargo ships, no ports, no canals required. I'm Tracy Samuelson for Marketplace.
All of our new Panama Canal peak trade coverage, last-ditch effort we call it, is now at marketplace.org. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
By WLRN members and by Nova Southeastern University. Nova Southeastern University offers academic programs to fit any lifestyle. Whether you're applying to college for the first time, advancing, or changing careers, NSU has an undergraduate, master's, professional, or doctoral program designed for you. Flexible class schedules online or on campus in Fort Lauderdale or Miami will help you realize your potential. An NSU degree is closer than you think. Information at nova.edu.
This is 91.3 WLRN and HD1 Miami Fort Lauderdale, 91.5 WKWM and HD1 Marathon Key West, 90.7 WFLV HD2 West Palm Beach, and 101.9 NPR Fourth Palm Beaches. It's 9 o'clock.
I'm John Huckenberry.
February, and this is the takeaway, the breakup shake-up.
Dissolution of the European Union is not an option. We are so deeply integrated with each other, legally, factually, socially, economically, politically, it's unimaginable.
Politics may never be the same in Europe. The View from Germany and France this hour. Also a humdinger of a decision from the U.S. Supreme Court.
This is the Super Bowl for the right to choose.
A Texas law, the mind of Justice Anthony Kennedy, and the future of health care for women in America. Also, from the window of a police car, the hunt for optimism in making police reform a reality in the inner city.
We're talking about stops where officers would pull someone's waistband away from their body and look down at their genitals to see if they had a weapon.
Writer Jelani Cobb on the streets of Newark. Call us at 877-8MY-TAKE or tweet us at The Takeaway. More right after these headlines.
Hello, this is David Austin with the BBC News. There's been further volatility in financial markets in response to Britain's decision to leave the European Union, with some stocks being suspended temporarily. The pound has reached a new 31-year low against the dollar. Andrew Warpy reports.
Sterling is now more than 10% down against the dollar from its pre-referendum level. There have also been further falls in European stock markets, including London, though the losses were more moderate than on Friday in the immediate aftermath of the vote. British banks have been particularly affected, and there were temporary suspensions of trading in the shares of two of them, RBS and Barclays. Earlier in Tokyo, however,